Welcome to Winning with the Word. I am Joan E. Murray. I am so glad that you're here. We pray that you're continuing to enjoy the podcast we've been putting out. Would you continue to follow us on all of our social media platforms? We want you to like, to write a comment, to share, and to subscribe to our YouTube page. Today, we are going to talk about a subject that everybody's interested in, and it is your purpose and your destiny. And I have a wonderful guest. Her name is Nalieghna Kai, and I'm going to let her introduce herself. And then we're going to dive into this topic on purpose and destiny.
Indeed. Thank you so much for having me. I am Nalieghna Kai, as she says, and that means the determined one is present. I am a USA Today and Essence Magazine international bestselling author. I am a literary agent with the Seymour Agency. And I am what you call a book whisperer, the person that you come to when you're thinking about writing and publishing a book, and I will help to make it a reality. Because I believe everyone has a story to tell. And I'm just one of the people who can help you to tell it well. And I've been in the industry for 24 years. And this is my purpose and my destiny, writing and helping others to birth that book.
Awesome. That's why I wanted you to share your own introduction. I could not have done it any better than that. So, one of my passions is to help people discover what their purposes and their destinies are in the earth. And whether I'm here in the US or around the world, people are always trying to find out what it is you're called to do. And many years ago, I went on a journey because I thought my life was mediocre. And I said, Lord, I know that you did not create me for mediocrity. What is my purpose and my journey in the earth? And then I sat still and he began to reveal to me what it was. And as a result of that, all the books, all the ministry, all the messages, all the travel around the world. So we want to tackle this subject today because we know that so many people desire to know what their purposes and their destinies are. So Jeremiah 1 verse 5 says, before God formed us in the womb, he knew us. So talk to me about destiny. How did you discover what it was that God wanted you to do with your life?
The interesting thing is, I did not grow up saying that I wanted to be an author. I was challenged to do a book, and I did a book early on when there was this thing on Microsoft Network where they had this game network where you could play with people in different rooms, hearts, and all different games. And then I met a person there that was a writer, and they wrote me all of these wonderful things. And I wrote back and I answered, and it kind of put him to shame a little bit. And I was encouraged by my pastor, by my minister. Her name was Reverend Renee Cobb, Sesfala Cobb Dishman. And she encouraged me. She was my sexual abuse counselor as well. And that was part of my therapy. Writing was part of my therapy. And she encouraged me to continue to put my pain on the page. Wow. And the page became my passion. And now the passion is my purpose. So my stories came out as a way to express the things that the childhood trauma. And I wrote about 6 novels within a 2-year period. And I write longhand, yellow tablet, blue ink.
No typing on the computer?
Not at first. It comes here. I don't know what it is. Everybody has different mediums. Like the younger generation, they like to do it phone or a keyboard. Yeah. I think a lot of the older our generation, they like to handwrite. But there's so many mechanisms now. Like I handwrite it, but then I record it now. I didn't do that back then. I recorded so I don't have to sit so long at the computer. You know, these days you're getting older. You don't want to sit there. You got neck problems and back problems. So you find ways to still do the creative process, but getting it to the page for me is recording it. So, and I kept writing the stories, and they just kept coming. And then I was so excited about it. I wanted everybody to write. I wanted my son to write. He is an author. He was nominated for NAACP Image Award when he was a teen. And his first book was published when he was 15, and got him a 4-year academic scholarship to Fisk University because he had a book. And I wanted everybody around me to write. I wanted my dog to write. I didn't even have a dog. But I'm just saying, I saw the freedom and the liberation that came with writing. And it was wonderful.
And so literally in going through those inner healing sessions with her, she unearthed what I call hidden treasures that God has put in all of us. This is our purposes and our destiny. And so going through this session with her, she unearthed what was buried on the inside of you, and it was the ability to write. And that's how you knew this was your destiny. Before that, what were you doing?
I was living. I was just paying the bills, getting a job to pay the bills. You know what I'm saying? I didn't, there's a lot of people who say, what do you want to be when you grow up? I don't think I knew that.
Okay.
I didn't have a household that encouraged, oh, you need to be a doctor, you need to be a lawyer. My mom worked for the state of Illinois for 30 years. She worked for ATL, used to be Illinois Bell back then. So she always worked a job. That's all I saw. So we weren't encouraged to do anything beyond that. So that was my model. And that's what I lived up until I found writing. So I was living the paycheck to paycheck. I was living to work a job that was going to carry me until I retired. And it wasn't until I got into this writing that I saw the possibilities of so many other things to be. I'm a motivational speaker, but the best thing for me has been getting book deals or landing book deals for clients with traditional publishing houses, helping their dreams to come true. That is so rewarding. And it's a beautiful thing to see their happiness. I was on the phone last week when Martha Kennerson, she's been with me for several years. I got her a deal with Harlequin. So we're now looking for her for another deal, right? So we got the message from a publisher that they were interested in one of her romance series. And when I was on the phone with her, I texted her and I called her immediately. And when she broke down crying, those tears of joy and happiness, they just do something for me.
And so you literally you've taken the gifts, the calling and the assignments, and you're paying it forward, and you're not keeping it to yourself. You're helping others to realize their own dreams, and then you're helping them to and I've noticed that you have even gone further with some of your clients. You told me this, that some of your clients have even gone further than you have. And you love that. You celebrate that, because that's the goal. That if I can push them even further than myself and make them successful, then I'm accomplishing a part of the assignment that I have in the earth.
Yes, most definitely. They should achieve more. They shouldn't take as long as I did to get to where I am. And that is the goal. When I take on a client, it sometimes it seems overwhelming for the client because I give them so much. I'm like, I want you from here to here. I don't want you to take 20 years when I could now give it to you in, like, how can I say, a crash course or a clash course, and you can get it within a month or two or whatever, and you're at least have the foundation set. And then where you go from there is, the
sky's the limit. Yes. So one of my favorite scriptures is Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you, to give you a hope and to give you a future. And so I am looking at how do we identify our purposes and our destinies? And so you told us how you identified your purpose and destiny. So let's talk to the people about how they can identify their purposes and their destinies. I was thinking about when I wrote the book called Unchosen for Destiny, I literally went on this search for destiny and for my purpose. And it was such a discovery along the way. And one of the things that I discovered about finding destiny is when you go back in your childhood, many times there are things that you had a propensity towards doing. And some of those things are clues to our destinies. And so some of the things that you're passionate about before, you're passionate about today, and probably even when you die, you'll still be passionate about those things. And so many people are trying to figure out, what is it that I am called to do, and how do I identify what I'm called to do? Can you share some of the ways that they can identify what they're called to do in the earth?
What is it that you would do every day
if no one paid you, right?
Without getting paid for it?
Yes, that was one of them.
Without getting paid for it. The thing about it is, but we have to be realistic. We have this thing about starving artists. There's no joy in that. I want to eat.
That's true.
I want to pay bills. So you have to find the balance in that. Make sure you keep an address, make
Mhm.
sure you keep the lights on, make sure you, take care of the basics. Definitely. If you have to do a 9 to 5 and you have to work your dream until your dream can pay you as much as your 9 to 5.
Mhm.
There's a quote from Jim Rohn that I love, and it is, if you work for someone else, you'll make a living. If you work on yourself, you'll make a fortune.
Mhm.
When you picture that, and I started looking at it, I said, okay, if I wanted to do this full time, I need to do X amount of editing jobs, X amount of consultations. I could make what I'm making at the day job. I could do that. And during the pandemic, I saw that happening because more people were leaning into, oh, they had all this time on their hands, and more businesses were started during the pandemic. More dreams started,
Yes.
people realized, wait a minute, I've been giving all this energy to someone else. And here's something that people realized too. Employers realized how important employees were.
Yes.
Before it was like, we're doing you a favor.
Mhm.
Now they realize when restaurants started closing and businesses started closing because there were no employees. There
Mhm.
were nobody in there spending money. So they saw the cycle of that, how important that was. But businesses pivoted and they started letting people work remote because they wanted to keep that money coming in. There were law firms that started making, the law firm I was working for at the time,
Mhm.
they made more money during the pandemic and billed more hours during the pandemic than they did during regular time, normal times. And it
Mhm.
was like, okay. So
Mhm.
now people, they appreciated that work-life balance of, wait a minute, I have 3 extra hours of my day to do something for me when I'm not commuting to work for someone else.
Yes.
So people did some productive things with those extra 3 hours.
Mhm.
They did some productive things and started businesses and started doing that. Oh, if I had time, I would do XYZ. If I had time, I would do ABC. So they started doing those things and found that they loved them. And they got clients, and they didn't go back to the 9 to 5. Some
Yes.
people did. But I'm just saying, find the balance in that. Don't be a starving artist. Don't starve yourself for your craft. No, pay the bills, balance it out, keep working it until it's enough to pay for your life. You bank enough money. You bank enough money for the next 5 years or so that you have emergencies or whatever. That's a key thing.
Yeah. And so one of the things that people ask me all the time is, how did you know that the destiny that I'm now living in was the destiny for me? And I remember crying out to the Lord saying, oh, my life is so mediocre. There had to be, I said, there had to be more to life than this. Those were my words to him. And so what I want people to understand is that, you know, your purposes are not just lying on the surface. I call it a treasure hunt. You got to go on a bit of a treasure hunt to really find out what it is you're called to do. Many people are gifted in many things, but because you're gifted in those things does not necessarily mean that that is what you're supposed to be doing. So they have to go on a treasure hunt. They have to take the time. They have to examine their lives. They have to, for those that pray, they need to pray and sit with the Lord to find out, what is my purpose? What is the thing that's going to fill my life? Because I've discovered that when you are walking and you're living in your purpose, that you're the most content, you're the happiest because you're the most fulfilled. And so if you're doing a job, which I've done many, as you were talking about, and you're going to the job and you're doing your work and you're getting paid for it, but you leave the job many times unsatisfied because you're not yet walking in the fullness of the assignment. And so people have to literally spend time and really look at the things that they enjoy doing, what it is that comes naturally to you. It's almost automatic. You know what I'm saying? Once you discovered you could write, people ask me, do you ever have writer's block? No, not really. I sit there, put my hands on the keyboard, and it flows like water. I don't have writer's block because that's a part of my assignment. The same thing when I'm preparing messages. When I sit down to prepare a message, I'm doing my research, I'm doing my stuff, and I just enjoy doing it. It fills me. And then I have this excitement about wanting to share this knowledge with the people that's going to sit in front of an audience. And so we have to find the thing that makes us passionate about what we're doing. And so let's talk to the people about that. What is it that makes you feel passionate about your life and where you are in the journey of your publishing and the literary agency stuff that you do to help so many people?
You all can't see this right now, but I have 3 vision boards up. 3 vision boards. One for pleasure, one for my writing, one for me doing work for other people. This is the agent. This is the publishing side. And on this, it's really interesting. I have all the places that I want to connect with as a writer. And I also have what I want done with the abundance and prosperity that comes, in the sense that I have debt free. I have a check written to myself for $3 million. I have all of the credit cards written out there, paid in full. I have a check for each one and paid in full. I want to be recurring debts only, which is gas, light, telephone.
Yes.
I want to have the freedom to travel and do the things that I want to do. So I had to see a visual of that, of what the end result is. What brings me joy and pleasure in it is setting a goal, because it will change. You know, they say success is a moving target. So it will change. You may say, okay, well, I started off, I just wanted to hit the bestsellers list. Okay, so that happened. Now what? So it isn't leaving it open-ended or putting your goals as how can I say it? Not hurdles. I guess it would be hurdles or benchmarks that you would set. So it's always something you're working towards. And when you land on that next one, there's a sense of accomplishment and fulfillment. Even recently, they have these savings challenge envelopes, and it changed my mindset on saving money, because, you know, and every time I put something in those envelopes, I'm constantly thinking, okay, when can I put something else in there? Once you have that goal defined, goals with an S, defined, the pleasure and joy comes with every time you put something in your envelope of what it is you want to do. And realizing there's never too, my mother was 60 something when she got her driver's license. But back in 70, she crashed three cars trying to learn to drive. She didn't drive all her life after that. She didn't drive. So when she passed away, and my brother and sister, they were, you know, people are funny when people die and there's money involved, and there wasn't a lot. I didn't want the house, I didn't want the car. I wanted her driver's license. I wanted her driver's license because it took her so long to get it. When she finally got it, and she was driving around in this red Caravan, a Dodge Caravan, and my son came home one day and said, "Grandma actually drove the speed limit today." You know, she was the happiest that she could be, that she can go where she wanted to. She was a safe, ultra safe driver. But to me, that signaled accomplishment. You know what I'm saying? Now, what I also learned is she put off a lot in life that she wasn't going to do until she retired. She didn't get to do 1/100th of what she had planned to do, which means when I'm talking about that balance for you, or balance in achieving your goals, make sure you're knocking off some of the personal trips and things you want to do. Or if you want to learn to play the piano, if you want to learn a second language, if you want, please factor that in early on. Don't say, okay, when I reach XYZ, I'll do this, or when I reach a certain age, or when I retire. Please don't do that. Do
And
it
I think one of the
alone.
things we don't realize is that the journey is a part of the destiny. We're trying to get to the destination, but every step that you take towards a destination, it's a part of the destiny. And every part of that destiny, that journey that you're on, increases your ability to fulfill all the purposes you've been given in the earth. You're talking about writing the vision. Habakkuk 2 talks about write the vision, make it plain, so those who read it can run with it. And though the vision tarry, wait for it. It will come and it will not delay. And so some people will have a vision board. I have another friend like you that have a vision board. I have journals. I have many, many, many journals with all the personal visions, all the ministry visions, all the book visions. And in my prayer time every day, I pull out some of those journals and I absolutely declare it out loud. See, we can get a thought in our minds about what it is we're supposed to do, and it can stay there until we meditate on it and then begin to speak it out of our mouth. When you begin to speak the vision, that is when the vision becomes a reality. For years, we wanted to do missions overseas. And I would just declare, okay, the ministry is going to go overseas to do missions. We're going to go overseas to do missions. We're going to minister the word, and we're going to do missions. And we have done 19 trips in 17 years. And it came to pass because I kept saying it. And you know what happens when you keep saying what your vision and what your purpose and your destinies are? People begin to buy into the vision and the purposes and the destinies. And so the more you speak it and the more people hear it and the excitement that you have about it, they want to invest in the vision and the purposes and the destinies that we have before us. So we have to write the vision. Some people do the vision board, some people do the journaling. However you write the vision, make sure that it's before you. And then I would say that people need to go back regularly, revisit the vision. When you have accomplished it, when you receive the thing that you say you're going to have, then put the date and the time that that thing was accomplished. So you know when you face the next hurdle, you can come back and say, you know what? I did it then, it can be done again. And so they do need to write out the vision as much as they can. So talk to me about some of the visions you have written out. How have you been able to execute it?
Definitely, I wanted to hit the bestsellers list, and I put it out there on the board. And within 6 months of the release of my book that was published by Simon & Schuster, I was on the Essence bestsellers list. From there, it was a shock because I didn't know how it would come about. I was in a imprint of the publishing house. They had a lot of books through there, and it was published by it was headed up by a woman who was on the New York Times bestsellers list. So I kind of noticed that no one else in that imprint had hit New York Times. But the thing about it is, it took me a while before I was even put New York Times bestsellers list as one of the things I wanted to accomplish.
Okay.
See, you can put the goal, but if you don't believe it, like when I tell people when they say, "Oh, I put $3 million." I didn't say 10 million on here. I didn't say 20 million. I had to go according to what my faith is.
Yes.
So, and I'm working that muscle so I can strengthen it. So it may become 4 million, 5 million, 10 million.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
I know 3 million is what I would need to retire completely and have enough comfortable to do whatever I wanted to do in life.
Yes.
So I had that figure in my head. So my thing is, you have to be honest with yourself. You know, people have these grand ideas. Oh, I want to hit the lottery. Notice how many lottery winners end up broke because their belief and their mindset do not live up to the abundance that they're given.
Yes.
And that's a whole thing. They end up blowing it or giving it all away because they haven't learned to appreciate themselves. So part of this along the way is I'm learning myself, and I'm learning, and I'm putting it. I do a things to do list, and I used to have a master list of all the things that I needed to accomplish, and then I would pull a few things off of that list and want to tackle it per day. So now I don't do a master list anymore. I do the most important things, and I check off a few of them each day. As soon as I get about 3 or 4 done, I write a new list. And in that, I can constantly see in my mind's eye that I am accomplishing things and I'm moving forward towards a goal of whatever. But the thing about it is, I make it doable and I make it reachable. I don't make it so grand
that you can't manage
that it's out of reach.
Yes. So we're going to do something that we have not done on these, and we're going to do a part 2. And the reason I'm going to do a part 2 is because so many people are so interested in knowing how to get to their destinies. And I want to talk about some of the preparation processes and some of the challenges that you will face and the difficulties and the setbacks that you face in pursuing your destinies. And so that we can, we want to target that for the people so that they know that there'll be challenges along the journey. So I'm going to close out part 1. And I'm going to come back and we're going to jump into part 2. So thank you for joining us for Winning with the Word. We're so grateful that you've joined us. We're talking about purpose and destiny. Again, remember, when we come back, we are going to be sharing about challenges and destinies under part 2. So we want you to go and like and share and comment and subscribe to the YouTube page. And then we are going to come back and do part 2.